Coach Kyle and Brandon back at you here today. Part 1 of 3 series on the ever popular elbow pain. So we're going to highlight a couple things first. No matter what magic mobility, prep drills I give you, soft tissue work, if you don't take care of your shoulder in your squat and your bench press and other movements like overhead press and rowing for that matter, this pain's probably never going to go away. This is just going to keep it at bay, and we're just going to mask symptoms a little bit. So it's really important for me to highlight that from a movement quality aspect first. I need you to move better and use this to help clean up the lingering effects probably of years or months of bad movement for that example. So first I'm going to throw Brandon under the bar here and talk about, as we probably all know, tight shoulders in a bad squat position. If he's too tight in the T-spine and through the shoulders here, small step back and squat for me, we're going to put a ton of pressure through wrist, forearm, bicep, as well as low back and other things. Go ahead and rack that. Probably not a new concept for you guys. Once again, just to highlight, if I'm in bad position and I never learn to get in better position in my squat, that lingering elbow pain is probably always going to come back and bite us. Same thing with bench press here. If we're too tight and locked up through our T-spine and don't have good shoulder mobility when we bench, or bad technique in both of these, head comes up, body's tight, bar dumps forward, shoulders are up, and we throw it back into the rack. Brandon might be brutally strong there, but once again, if that's the cause of that elbow pain, it's never going to get better for us. So now it's time to highlight a couple kabuki.ms drills. Let's start with the Banded Snatch. We're not going to spend much time with these here. You're probably already familiar with these if you've followed us for a while. If not, go to kabuki.ms, join the movement subscription library, and you'll find these and many other great drills. Quick 2 reps Banded Snatch for me. Good. A little more. Good. Drop that wall angels. Just 2 reps there is fine. Banded Snatch was first. Wall angel. These are definitely some of our go-tos for starting to address shoulder mobility. And let's hop down. Shoulder mobility and stability with kettlebell armbar. I'm going to leave out T-spine mobility drills here just for sake of what we're going to try to get at the end of this video. Rotating through humerus predominantly. But once again, just like quality movement, I can't neglect lack of mobility in my T-spine, even though that seems like it's far away from my elbow. Let's go ahead and do some oblique to bears. Start in that sideline position. Yep. Come on up. Some good bracing. And rotate through slow and controlled. Obviously some core and some other things out of here, but really learning to better mobilize, stabilize that shoulder girdle. One more rep for me. So there's just 4 of my favorites on the actual shoulder to highlight. Make sure you're taking care of T-spine mobility as well. But now we're going to talk implications of the musculature more directly related to the elbow. Let's actually stand back up. So the first one we're going to give you is a stretch directly for the bicep. I'll go ahead and demonstrate this one. I'm going to make an L on the wall with my hand. And then if you highlight my hips and my feet walking away, I'm just going to rotate my torso away from the wall. You should feel that run right up your bicep tendon into your shoulder. If you don't, change the placement of your hand on the wall. Everybody's slightly different where they feel that at. Very good stretch to isolate bicep tendon. Go ahead and hop down on the mat or on the platform here for me. And let's turn the face this way. So the next one we're going to talk about is for the extensor group. Go ahead and fold those hands directly over. Now Brandon and myself is pretty tight. So if this is too much of a position, we can modify it by stepping forward and taking a lot of pressure off of that arm. So I'll have him do that, go into one. And you can slowly extend back. Now, just like when we stretch the musculature of the calf muscles, the lower extremity of the leg, it's really important there that we do it with a bent knee and a straight knee. Same thing applies here. Go ahead and bend that elbow slightly. And when you do this, you might find you have more or less flexibility. It's just going to slightly change the way the stretch feels through that extensor group. Let's flip that over, actually, while we're still here. You can add in a little bit of rotation here as well. We're really trying to highlight rotation of the wrist and not so much the shoulder. Just another little flare you can add to that stretch. Gives a lot of benefit through that extensor group. Let's go to the other arm, just to give that wrist a break. And we're going to go the other way now. Same thing here. If we're super mobile, we can get both of them at the same time. If you're like Brandon and myself, we're a little bit tight, we can highlight one arm. We can come forward to alleviate pressure and then sit back into the stretch. Once again, for the flexor group, it's very important that I stretch with a straight elbow and a bent elbow. Go ahead and bend that elbow for me. Yeah, so come forward, alleviate pressure. We can see how much that immediately changed things for him. I find most people stretch either with a bent arm or a straight arm, but they don't do both. And you felt that in a different position in that same group, correct?
Absolutely.
Yep, I know myself when I highlight the stretch, if I go straight arm, I really feel it on the tendinous attachment side here. If I bend down and bend the elbow, it highlights it right through a deeper part of the muscle belly. There's a lot of different layers and complexity of musculature through the forearm. Part of it is because the big things that it does. Flexion, extension of the wrist, but also the fingers and the dexterity of our fingers and our hand and wrist throughout that. So one last stretch for you to highlight. We're going to use this one again. You can do this yourself, very easy, but to help highlight the hand, I'm going to put my fingers under Brandon's wrist or under his hand. So flip and go the other way for me. Yep. You might want to shoot right in this way here. So from here, both bent and straight arm, I can highlight some of that flexor digitorum group, or the muscles that flex the finger specifically. So I'm going to be real light here. You should on yourself too. I can definitely highlight the stretch on those muscles separately. I could also do it one digit at a time if I wanted to. We might find that parts of that group are a lot tighter than other ones. Usually, go and rest there. Usually it's going to be through the smaller fingers, through pinky, ring finger, and whatnot. Anything to add to that, Brandon?
I think that about covers it, but one thing to keep in mind is it's not quite as easy as it looks. Definitely a painful thing to do, but worth doing.
Especially if we're already in elbow pain and discomfort. So to highlight, recap very quickly, remember if we're not squatting or benching any movement, if we're not doing that well, we have to clean that up first. 4 of our favorite, or my favorite, shoulder mobility, not T-spine mobility, but shoulder mobility drills you can find on kabuki.ms. What we're going to add to that is a specific bicep stretch on the wall, making sure we stretch both flexor and extensor group with a bent arm and a straight arm. Thanks, guys.